Good morning, Michael.
Look at Jenny White with the animated slides. She just producing. No one can say can't keep you down with bad knee pain. Can't take any pain medication. No one can stop
Lord.
Jenny.
Yeah, well, trust me, she was stopped pretty much yesterday, almost all day. I was like, if we don't get something out about this show, nobody's going to know what we're doing today. So, yeah, I will say this is, I'm not having as much fun as I would like to be.
Well, it's very, very impressive. Your technology skills are very impressive, Jenny.
Well, that is very kind of you to say. You know what? It's so much easier than it used to be. I will say that. Somebody said something the other day about one of the ones I did for Liberty, Oklahoma. And I'm like, you know what? The cool thing is, we pay for this video editing thing. And they keep changing it up, which I hate. Just, you know what I'm saying? Don't you hate it when you get a program and then they're like, oh, let's tweak this and let's tweak this. StreamYard does that too. I logged in today and it told me something and I went, stop doing that.
Well, I think they're tweaking for the better.
But here's what happens. So let's say they tweak it for the better, but now I have to relearn where they put blah and blah to make it all better. And I'm like, no, I don't have time for that.
They're just making sure that you're still using your brain. You're engaging your new brain cells and your neural pathways that are coming in all the time. They just want to make sure that you're not degrading. So it's all right. We can learn. We can keep learning. I don't have a problem with that. Hey, it's better. It's better than when I was in college and we had to physically write all the HTML, type it all out ourselves.
Oh, I do remember that.
I don't want to go back to those days.
Do you remember the cards?
Oh, yeah.
Here, I'm going to put this card into this computer. Yeah, that was, man, those were the days.
You know what was hilarious? I found a stack. So I was moving some old high school, college stuff in the attic. And I had this one box with a bunch of my books and schoolwork and stuff. And it still had some floppy disks in there, some little three and a half floppies in there. So anyway, I showed my kids. I was like, hey, check this out. This is what, this is how we did our homework, from this PC to go take it over to the friend's house who had a printer, the only friend who had a printer, go take it to their house. And they're like, what the heck is that thing? It was hilarious.
It makes it sound so old.
Yeah.
But it's so true. Oh my goodness. And I remember my grandparents were so sweet to me and they bought me one of the first Apple computers that came out.
Oh man. You were big time.
Oh, are you kidding me? Yeah. But don't forget, there was no internet yet. So basically all it was a typewriter with electronic, it was just a nothing back then. And we had the dot matrix printers. Remember that? So I printed my whole thesis off, like 63 pages on a dot matrix printer.
Yeah, I remember the sound. Remember the sound? We'd be in computer lab. And that's all you'd hear is just dirt. That was the good old days right there.
Why is this cracking us up?
Yeah. That was the good old days.
And then remember, you'd accidentally plug in a computer somewhere or a printer someplace, and it would start going wee.
Yeah.
It was trying to attach to a phone line. Oh my gosh, those were not the days. I was going to say those were the days, but they weren't. They're just not the days under any set of circumstances. Gracie says, good morning. Shelly says, Michael, if our hard drives are 3/4 full, it takes longer to page in and out. Just give us the instructions. I love this show. Good morning, Lisa. Oh my goodness. Okay, so now we've gone through all of that, which was actually kind of fun. A little walk down memory lane. So we have the Pike Off ladies on with us today.
Yeah, the ladies, that's for sure.
You know, if you guys don't follow Amy Serrano on Substack, you need to follow Amy Serrano on Substack, because her the stuff she puts out is, I just love the stuff she puts out. I just love it. I mean, and it's got the little tongue in cheek, like I like to write too, because it's like, this stuff is so ridiculous. I mean, how do you make any sense out of it? It's so ridiculous. You might as well just stick your tongue in your cheek and just go, because it's stupid. It's so much of it is just flat stupid. So I'm going to bring on the ladies. I'll bring on Amy first, since I was just talking about Amy. Hi, Amy. Uh-oh.
Hi, how are you?
Oh,
there she is. Okay, good to see you. Now I'll bring in Kelly.
I love her flag in the background.
I do too. I like the flag. And our friend Whitney.
Good morning.
Missed you, Kelly. I feel like I hardly see you anymore.
I know. My life is just too busy lately, it seems like.
No, stop. Just stop.
I know, right? You too. If
I
I have to stop, you have to stop.
I know.
Right.
It's like, I'll stop, you stop.
There you go. Deal.
All right. So, ladies, one of the things that I want to start off talking about this morning is your documentary. Your documentary was fabulous. I went down to Norman what was it? Was it the first night you had it out?
Yeah.
Yes,
Back in the summer.
You know what? Here's the thing. So I've always believed what you guys have said. I mean, even without looking at myself, I'm just like, this just makes sense what these ladies are saying, right? So, I mean, I admit it. I haven't like researched everything, but it just makes sense to me. When I watched that documentary, I literally could hear my mother going, close your mouth, you're going to catch flies. Because I was sitting there going, it really brought home the ridiculousness of the Oklahoma Transportation Authority in living color. And the only thing that I have to say to you before you guys get going talking about it and everything else is thank you so much for what you do. Because again, Amy, your Substacks they're freakishly documented. I mean, I get that you're a PhD and everything, and that's kind of, I'm sure, just part of your personality, but they are freakishly well documented. And I double dog dare. How about that? Double dog dare anybody to go back and find that what she's not writing is the truth. And what she's writing is, y'all, I don't know how we have let this state just become a toilet.
To put it mildly.
And I think the key word there, Jenny, is you said we, because it really is, it's just us not holding those people accountable, ultimately.
Every time you point, how many of those fingers are pointing right back at you?
Yeah.
So, yeah, for sure, but still. So jump in, ladies. Just get going on the documentary.
Well, when we first started Pike Off, one of our biggest missions was to document all of the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority's business model, because their business model over the last 70 years has been to pick on a small community and wipe them out as fast as they can before a resistance can mount. And so when we got blindsided by this in 2022, they said, oh, well, why didn't you know about this when they paved over the Kickapoo? And we said, well, the fight lasted like 3 months. And then it was gone. It was never in the media and no one really knew about it. And so our whole mission became to document everything that they did. And Kelly went back through and looked at all of the Oklahoma County resolutions and all of the property acquisitions. And we have a CPA on staff, on volunteer staff, that went back and looked through all the bonds. And so the idea was not only to write about it, but to make a living video really of all of the things that happened. And so people could understand what they do to communities. And we knew that we might not be able to stop this one, but we wanted to make it so obvious to all of the citizens of Oklahoma that the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority is a problem and needs to be abolished. And so maybe in 2 years and 3 years, that when we get the initiative petition to change the Constitution, maybe now we'll have, with all this documentary and all the Substack things, that we'll have enough pressure from the citizens that we can actually make lasting change.
Especially after the Supreme Court failed us so miserably.
Yeah.
We had to do something to put the story to life. And like she's saying, between visual with the movie and the Substack, we're just trying to hit them with anything we can, because like you said, when you actually watch it, it's undeniable how ridiculous everything is.
Undeniable.
Even with the city of Norman. I mean, I don't even know how some of these people look at themselves in the mirror every day.
Yeah. And we had a lot of legislators come out and watch it, which was great. But what we're trying to do now is we have so much B-roll. We have our documentarian Bill Molina is fantastic. He did Truth Be Told out of Texas, and you could tell in the movie, right? He stopped it, and then he's like, "Oh my gosh, there's more!" So then he added more, and then he added more. So what we're trying to do now is cut it into 45-minute pieces, like a Netflix special. So there'll be 10, 12 pieces. So if we want to go to the legislature and talk about how bad eminent domain is with the OTA, we can have an eminent domain segment. If we want to talk about how the OTA and the ODOT they're not supposed to be changing funds, we can show, there's a problem between the Oklahoma Department of Transportation and OTA, and here's our segment. And if you want to see a segment on, the poor business model of the resolutions that the OTA tries to run with the municipalities and how they don't talk to any regional transportation planning people when they're doing this, then we can show them that. And then we have one on the bonding. So all the bonding stuff can go to financial. And so we have all these different segments, and we're trying to get them out in smaller chunks so people can understand what's going on. Because, when you're sitting in that 2 hour and 15-minute documentary, it's just so much information.
Mm-hmm.
I got to tell you something funny. So when you told me it was 2 hours and 15 minutes and invited me to come down, I was like, 2 hours and 15 minutes. Really? 2 hours and 15 minutes? Oh my gosh. At the end of it, I was like, that was 2 hours and 15 minutes. I mean, it's the way he did it, kept it moving along so well. And Kelly, oh my gosh, you were phenomenal. I loved your part in the documentary so much because, girl, you're a bulldog.
Me?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. That one part where you're standing up at one of the meetings and you're like,
that was in March
get 'em.
of 2022, and I wasn't going to speak that night. That was the Crosspoint Church meeting. I wasn't going to speak. I was in the overflow room, and I was listening to the questions that other people had been asking, because the line was out the door to the church. I mean, like, it was literally like, so people were lined up to speak, and people were like crammed in there in the line, like pushed up next to each other. Okay, we're not 6 foot distancing anymore. And the line was all the way through the seating in the congregation and out the door into the foyer area. And I was like, I'm not going to speak. I don't do public speaking. So that was definitely not on my radar. I know it's changed since then, but
I was going to say, did you see my eyebrows shoot up?
but I was listening to the questions and I was listening to the non-answers they were getting, and I just got madder and madder and madder. And the next thing I know, my husband was like, hey, a bunch of people left from, the sanctuary. We could go sit in there. And I was like, okay. So we walked in and I just walked straight to the line. He goes and sits down and he turns around and he was like, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm mad. And what's really funny is like you can hear somebody screaming in the background because I asked him a question and then I said, I'll wait. And then you can hear my husband in the background going, she knows the answer. Don't lie. It's kind of funny stuff.
Honestly, that one particular scene, I was dying. I mean, I was dying. But let me say this. Where have we been with that before? I mean, we should have been doing that for 20 years, going to these meetings and just, talking over them and telling them, hey, you work for me. How do we get this thing flipped where you look at this like you're going to do this and yet you work for me? And if I say, no, that's the way it works, we don't do it then.
Well, they don't usually hold those kind of meetings. That was actually hosted by one of our city council members.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't do it that way on purpose, because that is exactly what happens. When the public is allowed to speak, they express how they truly feel, and they say they don't want something, and then it's documented, and they don't want that because they want to be able to spin their numbers, just like when they held those meetings over the summer, where they wanted the people in East Norman to say, no, I don't want this to be in my backyard. I want it to be in my neighbor's backyard. Well, dog and pony show, but they took those comment cards and all the comments that they received online. And then they said, so if somebody said, hey, I don't want the turnpike. I'm worried about the deer. I'm worried about the water quality. And so then they categorized that as, oh, well, this one was about water and this one was about wildlife. And so they were able to say those were helpful to them. And that's how they presented it. They said 2/3 or something like that were helpful to the Turnpike Authority. But of course, the general public interprets that as they're trying to say that 2/3 of the people are in favor of the turnpike. But really, 99% of the people were not in favor of the turnpike, but they just skewed their numbers. So anyway, I think that's part of the reason they don't want those meetings where people can actually speak out loud, because then it's documented and they can't deny it. It's harder for them to push it out and turn it into something it wasn't.
Yeah. So every time they do something like that, we open record request their original data. And so I open record requested their original public comments, and then Tassie Hirschfeld went through them. And I knew from just how they spun their statistics that it was wrong, but it turned out that only 14 of the 675 something public comments they got were actually somewhat positive. Everything else was like, no turnpikes, or expletive turnpikes, or we don't want turnpikes. And so they have a PR group that has been on the propaganda spin for 30 years. And one of their main persons comes from ODOT, whose husband works for MacArthur, who is making a ton of money if these turnpikes go through, and will lose a ton of money if they don't go through. And there's so many inbred wrong things happening with this public-private entity that the state gave the sovereign right of eminent domain to, that it's really still 3.5 years later hard for me to believe that our legislators let this go on, that our attorney general lets this go on, that our judiciary lets this go on. Because I'm not against economic development and road building per se, but I am against doing things that are not lawful and are not ethical. And that, like Kelly said, they lie about everything.
I think it goes a little bit to what Michael and Jenny, what y'all talked about on Wednesday about the ridiculous amount of nepotism that's taking place in Oklahoma. I mean, literally, people should get elected. Just say it so I can give jobs to friends.
Well, and so let's take this 1 second then to point out who is the head of OTA and ODOT.
Well, it used to be one person, but because our group was so dogged in trying to get that change, because we went back through history, and every time the OTA's director was the same as the ODOT's director was the same as the Secretary of Transportation, Gary Ridley, Neil McCaleb, Tim Gatz, every single time, they got the legislature to do whatever they wanted. They got all these location authorizations put in. They got all this bad stuff. They changed the way they could do their funding. And so we went to the Attorney General. We had our representative, Mary Bourne, go to the Attorney General and ask for an opinion on if the same person could act in two different state capacities. And he came back and said no. So Tim Gatz had to resign from OTA and the Secretary of Transportation. And then Stitt threw a fit and just appointed him back again to not a Secretary of Transportation, but the advisor to the governor on transportation. So we are making progress, but still our elected officials are doing things to get around the rules to do whatever they want, which is frustrating.
Well, I mean, I now call him, I hyphenate his last name. It's King Stitt.
Mm-hmm.
King hyphenated Stitt. Because he literally has he thinks the state's a business and he can just hire and fire people like they're employees and pick his buddies. And I mean, it's the most egregiously bad use of government that I think I've seen under governors, and we've had some pretty crappy ones. This is just fascism. I mean, it's just, I'm going to run it. I'm going to be a fascist and you do what I say. I'm now a dictator. And isn't Gatz on his cabinet as the OTA head?
Well,
not anymore.
Not anymore. He was,
Okay.
but we
Okay.
got him to
All right.
resign from that.
Okay.
And that's what Stitt got really mad and actually filed a lawsuit that got thrown out about that. Drummond couldn't tell him who he could put on his cabinet, and then whatever. So then he said, well, yeah, he can't be secretary, but he can be my advisor. So now he's the state's advisor on transportation. So I don't
And
guess.
doesn't Tim Gatz's son work for Poe?
Yes.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Jenny, you're shocked?
Yeah.
I
Really?
mean, in all honesty, I don't understand when people listen to you ladies talk, and if they would ever take, I don't know, 5 minutes, they're not that long of a read. I mean, they're pretty detailed, but they're not that long of a read. If anybody would read Amy's Substack, I swear, I don't know how you don't finish that with just, I mean, you're like crying blood and shooting steam out of your ears. It's so dictatorial. It's so fascist. The whole system is just, and I hate to use that term because, you know, we've got one side of the, you know, one group of people who uses that, you know, all the time for everything. But I think when you're taking government and you're treating it like a business and then making the government be a business, I don't know how you don't get the term fascist. I mean, I don't get it. Oh, Shelley says elitist socialism. I don't know. I think that could be, I'd almost take that, but I don't know.
Oh. Jenny, you need to link Amy's Substack
Oh yeah. Let me do that
on Facebook and everything else. And my mic was muted, but what I said is it's not the government's job to be a business. I mean, it's two completely different things. That's
well,
what
and
people
here's
don't
the
understand.
problem. Here's the problem, and this is what I put in my last article, and I tried to explain it because people don't understand it. So when you run the state like a business, all of us become employees.
Yeah.
Which means that we can get fired, we can get not listened to. You don't have to care about you if you're not doing what I like. That's the basic problem with the whole run the state like a business, because the issue is we are the employers of Governor Stitt. So it's really a flip on its head. we employ Governor Stitt, not the other way around. We run everything. It's we the people. We are the people that run it. So, Kelly, you went and got some papers. What were you after?
Oh, so we were talking about how they don't present facts accurately. And one of the common things we hear about the Turnpike Authority and why we need them over ODOT is because of safety. And they talk about how safe their turnpikes are. And so yesterday during the loft report, I was just like, okay, I'm going to get to the bottom of this. And so I looked up the most recent data that they have complete data on for crash facts. For state highway systems was 2021. So I had to go all the way back to 2021. But in 2021, ODOT's state highway system had, let's see, 762 fatalities. And OTA's system had 20 fatalities. Okay, there's a lot more on ODOT's highways, right? However, ODOT operates 30,517 miles of roadway, and OTA manages 630 miles. So if you divide it out, that's for OTA, you're looking at one fatality for every 31.5 miles. And there's one fatality for every 40 miles with ODOT. So, I mean, really, it's just one more thing. Like if you really get at and you dig into it and look a little bit deeper, well, the facts are actually misrepresented oftentimes.
Yeah, and we have a retired state police person on our group, and he was in charge of safety, and he read some of the safety reports and said, Amy, they're lying. And he went back through and got some of the data around I-35, and they were counting accidents on the service roads that they were presenting on I-35. And then, I wrote a Substack on that back in May and plotted all of the crashes for every hour. And all of the crashes that they're talking about, they're not fatalities. They like little fender benders getting off the exit. So they're all within a quarter mile of the exits because the geometry is wrong. I-35 could be made so much better, and they just don't want to do it because that is the justification for building another roadway. But from a civil engineering standpoint, that is the most economical and efficient way to go. They have, and don't let them tell you this, anything else, they have enough space in the I-35 corridor to put one more lane, okay? And if they would move some of those old bridges, the foundation system to the bridges, if they move some out, they'd have room for two. Now, they could fix the 12th Street interchange and more. They could fix the 19th interchange and more. They could fix the lighting on those, the overpasses, to get people off the highway faster and safer. But they don't do these low-hanging fruit things because it's kind of like the whole COVID thing. If you can't find something that works for COVID, then come up with a vaccine, like, okay, if you can't fix I-35, then, we need another roadway, but you can fix I-35. And it would be relatively way less expensive. ODOT can do a roadway for 10 times less per mile than the OTA does. And if you look at the stats on the economics, the OTA is spending $53 million per mile to build these roads through Norman. That is insane. That doesn't even make any sense. That's more than Florida pays. That's more than Texas pays. That's more than anybody pays.
Well, so I'm going to ask you two things. First, Amy, what is your job?
What is my job as in PikeOff, or what is my?
No. What do you do for what is your job?
I'm a professional civil engineer.
So you wouldn't know anything about this then?
No.
Yeah.
And it's really frustrating because what we teach in school and how we teach our students to act and design is not anything what they're doing when they get out. They're doing the complete opposite of what they do. And so it's super frustrating to watch a state agency not follow the standard protocols for road building. And it's all about money. And that's frustrating. I think I told you this before. I had a student call me and say, I'm really sorry they're going to pave over your house, but I've never been offered this much money to do a geotechnical engineering report before. And I couldn't say no. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. What about the ethics classes we teach? And what about, the oath you signed to become a professional engineer? And he goes, well, it's just a lot of money. And I mean, I get it, but so that's the thing.
Wow.
They
Oh
pay.
my God, that depressed me so much. It's almost to the point of making me cry. I just can't even. How are we so off on our value system?
Well, Kelly can talk about this, but she open record requested some emails between ODOT and OTA and the city of Norman around the TIF thing, the arena, the Rock Creek TIF, and the Turnpike.
Yeah.
So we get 4,000 pages of open record requests finally after like 7 or 8 months, and we're reading through them, and Kelly's reading through them, and they're going, "Oh, change that traffic justification so it makes it look like we need the east-west connector." And do you want me to increase this here? And like they're going back and forth with these consultants, and hey, you need to make it look more like we actually need this roadway. And I mean,
Wait, what?
Wow.
Yeah. So we have all this stuff they're going back and forth saying, well, I can make my model look like this if you need me to. And I'm going,
Amy, you cannot be serious.
Yeah, there'll be a Substack soon if I can ever get it out. I have 21 Substack drafts that I haven't published yet, but it's in there, and it's crazy. Like the chief engineer from ODOT is talking to the consultant, and who's putting out those legal documents into the mainstream media. The mainstream media shows this traffic, for example, graph. It's all red. To induce fear. And then we're reading the backstory like, oh, we just pumped these numbers up to make it look like that.
So Whitney Malik has said several times that OTA is a jobs program.
I'm convinced it is.
Well,
Why else would they be spending so much more money than ODOT to build the same structures? I mean, there's obviously some sort of corruption going on, because we shouldn't be spending more money than Florida.
Right.
All right. So Kelly, what were you going to say? Sorry.
I think it had something to do with the traffic stuff, maybe.
Oh, the traffic study. So Amy was just talking about that map with all the red on it, and they actually submitted that with their exhibits to the Supreme Court validation case back in 2022. And I actually looked at the data that was kind of blurry. They kind of did like a screenshot of the actual numbers, and you couldn't really read it. But then we actually we did a request for the actual documents themselves instead of just this. Anyway, so we got our hands on the information and got the data that supported that they used to create that chart. And it actually says, when you can read the numbers in the column, it shows what the posted speed limit is for 22 locations between Indian Hills and I-40 on I-35, right? And at all 22 locations, free flow traffic was in excess of the speed limit.
On the turnpike?
No, on I-35. So I-35, they had 22 locations where they were measuring the speed limit or the speed of traffic. Okay. And the free flow of traffic at all 22 locations was in excess of the speed limit.
So we don't have a congestion problem.
Right.
Okay. Thank you for saying that, because I was trying to figure out how that was like. So yeah, I sometimes speed too.
The slowest people were driving there were, I think, like 6 locations, and in one location during peak congestion, the cars were driving like 4 miles an hour under the speed limit.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, and I actually have it pulled up, and they show it for 2020, 2030, 2040, 2050, and then by 2050 it's all red. They're trying to induce this fear.
That was their base year. They took that data and then they pushed it out and said, okay, that's what they used to make their projections for the upcoming years. Like, We don't have a problem. People were speeding, and they weren't just a little bit speeding. They were speeding what? I don't have it in front of me, but I mean, sometimes 10 miles over the speed limit, I think. Like, really? So really, people are just mad that they have to drive the speed limit, which they're supposed to be doing anyways.
Well, and
Just
here's
saying.
what's interesting, though. The toll roads have higher speed limits, by and large. And yet you just told us that there were more accidents on the toll roads than there were
That's why.
on regular.
More fatalities.
Yeah.
There's more fatalities because the higher
You're
the
going
speed, right? And that's the other thing that they don't like to talk about is that the reason we don't, believe it or not, we don't have a lot of fatalities in this congested area of I-35 that they're wanting to alleviate traffic in, because people are driving a little bit slower. And so they're typically fender benders, versus let's say the posted speed limit on the Turner Turnpike is what, 80, but people are driving 90 and 100, and that's why we get fatalities.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Hardly anybody's driving 100 or 90 on I-35. I mean, they might try, and I'm sure that happens every once in a while, but typically people are driving, 70 or whatever, which is still a high rate of speed, but apparently there's a big difference between 70 and 100.
Yeah, and I think all of the fatalities along the I-35 corridor in the years that I looked were high speed and drug or alcohol induced.
And when there was no cars on the road, so at like 2 a.m.
Yeah, it's not. You don't die because of congestion, on the highway. You're going slower, and it's a bit safer. So
a lot, yes, and a lot of those crashes that she's talking about on I-35 that ended in fatalities were single car collisions. So it wasn't because of congestion that those people died. It was because of drugs and alcohol use, or slick roads, or high rate of speed, or distracted driving. It didn't have anything to do with congestion. As a matter of fact, congestion is not even an option. It's not. So they, like I just said, they monitor, okay, was the collision the result of inattentive driving, or intoxication, or road conditions, or driver error? Congestion is not on the list of possibilities, because congestion doesn't cause collisions.
And I think it's important to point out the reason we're talking about these two things is these are the justifications for why they say we need this. And, they just announced the new South Extension recently. And in my opinion, all they did was give a whole new swath of people anxiety and stress. And they held those open house meetings, which is such an Orwellian doublespeak term for what they were trying to accomplish. But people, emailed us afterwards saying, do you know what's going on? I got 5 different answers from 5 different people. Can you tell me anything about? And it's like, no, this has been 3 years of these people talking in circles and not being straightforward with the public. And I wish we could give people answers, but everybody's in the dark on what they're going to do next.
And that's one of the most powerful things about that documentary, was that when we had the legislators in and watching it, we videoed the open houses. We videoed them, and you could see this person. Well, I don't know. You need to go over there. Well, I don't know. You need to go over there. Well, I don't know. And so one of the legislators came up afterwards and said, "I am running a bill on eminent domain." I was like, okay. And then the other guy's like, "I am running a bill. They cannot. Why are they advertising all the time? And why are they doing this?" And so they were like, they actually got angry about how the OTA is treating the public. And I feel like you wouldn't know. Like, you'd think that we're lying unless you saw the video of these open houses where they're completely lying to people. Well, I don't know anything about the environmental. I don't know anything about your eminent domain. And no one answered any questions. And those two women, those Ruth Chambers and I forget her name. They were in their 80s, and they're sitting there like, well, we didn't get any answers. Well, no one has gotten any answers, even us 3.5 years later. We just watched them do the same thing over and over again. It's like the definition.
Whack-a-mole. It's like what you said what you said in your Substack. It's like whack-a-mole.
Yeah.
You hit this one thing and then it pops up on another spot, and then you Kelly, you were going to say something before I go into some kind of a rant.
Yeah, so at those meetings, they hosted those open house meetings so that the landowners that find themselves in the path, excuse me, as Harry Angier says, those landowners that find themselves in the way of the new turnpike. That's what it said. That was a quote.
Her husband
Something
is
on
an
Twitter.
engineer too, by the way.
Her husband works for an engineering firm making bank on this.
Terry
So-
Ann here said those people that are in the way.
Yeah.
And she
Those
said,
people-
we're going to explain the rights we have, as in the OTA.
Oh, I did read that in your Substack, and I was like, she didn't even say that.
Yeah, she's very quotable for sure.
So at those meetings, where we could all find out how we were going to get screwed, this is what they gave us. This is what they had available, loaded with information, right? Look, I don't know if you guys can see this or not.
Yeah.
Look at all of that information. Beautiful, right? That's it. That's what we got. There's your rights right there, guys, right there in that.
Kelly,
little...
your house is in the way, isn't it?
I don't know. We don't know.
And Amy, yours is.
We're either halfway in the way or all the way in the way or not in the way at all. We're somewhere. We don't really know. It's been 3.5 years and we still don't know.
That's all.
At one
Yeah.
point,
Right.
her house was going to be a wetland community park or something. I mean,
Multimodal path.
yeah,
We're still
we're
working
gonna
on that.
Steal your house from you and then make it a multimodal park.
and drain the pond to make a multimodal park.
If they put in those frontage roads and because the city of Norman supposedly wanted the multimodal path and the wetlands, the man-made wetlands, they would have had to take extra right of way, and that would have cut into our yard for sure, and possibly even our house, depending on how far they wanted to take their multimodal path and all that. So, take my natural pond and turn it into a man-made wetland. That's brilliant.
Well, but hold on though. I mean, Kelly, come on.
For the greater good, right?
It is. I don't understand why you shouldn't be willing to just give your property up. I mean, it's just property. Oh my gosh. I was gonna be like extra snarky, but I forgot to tell you guys this something. One time, and I think it was on one of our earlier videos, we were talking about eminent domain and the fact that the state doesn't have right to your property. And we were talking about property taxes. I literally had some dude, I guess it was a dude, because they never use their own name, somebody comment on the YouTube part of the video. And he said, it's not your land anyway, it's the state's.
What happened to private
What
rights?
the absolute hell are they teaching in schools today?
Okay, was he being snarky about, try not to pay your property taxes and see what happens?
No.
Okay.
Because we went back and forth several times with me going, he can't be serious. But I'm serious. He was serious. I don't know how we make people. It's like I've heard the pro public education crowd, and I use that term to say there is a group of people who are public education, period. They don't even like homeschooling, all of this other stuff, right? So
Right.
There's a group of these people who literally believe that if you take away property taxes, it's going to kill public schools. Okay. So they're all against you owning your own property because property taxes and schools, right? My argument at this point is if you can't even teach a kid to read or write, how does my property need to suffer for that? But that's an entirely different situation. I don't know if the bottom line is at the beginning. We have to start at the beginning and say, letter A, what I have is mine. I don't know. What do we do? Seriously.
Yeah, we really need to shore up our eminent domain laws in Oklahoma and make sure that anyone, first of all, I personally think that eminent domain should be abolished. I don't think we should ever use it again. Yeah, I mean,
No, why would you want to, Amy? Give me one reason you'd have to do that.
yeah, I think it gives government too much power. It strips people of their individual property rights. I think it needs to go. But if we are going to have it and we can't get rid of it, then we need to make the laws very clear. And we cannot have an unelected board be able to sign a resolution of necessity and say, hey, I'm going to take your house, Jenny. And okay, we can do it 90 days. Like you have to prove that it is necessary and a public good. You can't just take it. And the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority abuses that, and they abuse it because they come in and they say, oh, we just want it there. They don't have to provide good traffic justification. They don't have to provide economic justification. They don't have to provide any kind of justification. They can just do it because they want to and their developers want to. But even the power companies and the municipalities, there's never a good justification mechanism. They can just do it because they have that eminent domain sovereign right. And so we're trying to pass some laws that will make it more difficult for these entities to take the land, that they have to provide justification in multiple steps why this route over this route is necessary. And also,
or why a route at all?
Why route at all? And also the payment to the citizen they're stealing the land from. So just to give you one number, so we're collecting offers that the OTA is making to these people on the east-west connector.
Okay, wait. Are you going to make my blood pressure go up so high I'm going to stroke out? I'm just asking.
Yeah, everything about the OTA will make you want to stroke out. And that's why when I write these Substacks, like I wrote that one on the Supreme Court the other day. It's been more than a day now, it's been a month, about that why we got screwed at the Supreme Court. You know, I had to take a week and just stop because I was so angry because, I finally put it all together, all of the pieces together about why it was such a ridiculous ruling. And I was like, oh, this is insane. But yeah, so this one is really going to make you mad because they pick on, and Whitney found this out too. She looked at the federal designation of persistently impoverished areas. And so the Turnpike Authority picks on persistently impoverished areas typically. So they don't want to go through, they went through $1 million houses in this one. They were dumb, but they typically go through single wides and double wides and the people that can't fight back. And so they're coming down through the Kickapoo and they hit this development of houses that are 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2,000 square feet. Some are manufactured, some are brick and mortar. So 2,000 square on 5 acres, they're all on 5 acres and they're going to take the whole property. So they offered these people $230,000.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No.
So, and if you look on Zillow, and they didn't provide the comps and they didn't provide anything to these people, and they didn't even provide a plan of the right of way of where they were going, what they're supposed to by law. So Kelly, I forwarded the offer to Kelly and I said, I don't think how can they offer this? Because you look on Zillow and in the closest, within a 10-mile radius, a 2,000 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath house on 5 acres at least was go
$375.
Yeah. Well, most of them were like $499. They were
wow, dang. Okay.
How can the citizens of Oklahoma and our legislators, how can we let a public-private entity that doesn't have any necessity to take eminent domain, how can we let them impoverish like 600 families? Who can afford to move into a similar house if you're only getting half of what it's going to cost to go buy another house? And their property taxes are lower now and their insurance is lower now. Now we're going to make them move into something less than what they had. So we're not making them whole. We're making them have to take a step down or 3 steps down in life. I don't think.
And if you purchased a home 10 or 15 years ago, think about the interest rate compared to what you're going to get now. I think that's exactly right. It's impoverishing people. And it seems like they have sweetheart appraisers that they use that, I mean, I think I haven't done as much research as Kelly on this, but they don't even have to give people the appraisal report.
The
Well, and I was gonna
landowner
say,
has
I
to
think-
request it.
Yeah, and so that's the other thing that I was going to say when you were talking about that, Amy. I think so they offer you 250 or 275, whatever. The only way, I mean, you can't just go to the OTA and go, I'm not going to take that. I mean, they'll go, oh, well, you know, but that's what we're offering you. You have to get an attorney and fight it. So like, am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. So how many people then are going to have the ability to just run, go get some attorney, you know, so that, I mean, government was established among men to protect we the people. Anybody argue with me?
No.
How is any of this protecting the, oh, I forgot. It is protecting the OTA and all of their stupid jobs with all of their little friends. I did forget that. It is protecting
plunder.
that.
I mean, it's plunder economics, and they are protecting their, like, I think Gracie or someone said, their elitist socialism.
Yeah, and the thing that's really frustrating is that there are lawyers in cahoots with the OTA. So there are ambulance chasers that came to our town halls back in 2022, and we told them to go away. But these guys used to work with the OTA, so the OTA gives them a heads up what's happening, and then they screw up. They screw the people, like by letting them take the money out of escrow or letting the money do this, and so the people end up getting screwed no matter what they do, because they're picking a law firm, for example, that is in cahoots with the OTA. And so we've been trying to steer people away from these ambulance chasing lawyers and putting people in touch with the ones that are going to be honest and help them. But it's the citizen has to fight the whole way. And a lot of them are very scared. You know, they're older, they're on Social Security, they might be a disabled veteran. They're just, they just don't have the resources and the bandwidth, really. And so they're scared. And so what especially Kelly, she's been reaching out to a lot of these people. We're just trying to help them understand their rights and what they should do and give them data. Like I published the one Substack on the Kickapoo, how 44 out of the 100 people that took them to court, the average amount that they got above what they were offered was 100%. The range went up to 600% of what they originally offered, the commissioner's offer. And so we just want to give them information so they can make the best choice for their family.
I knew there was going to be one that showed up. This is a really good comment. So Storybook says, what if you recently purchased the house and you owe $400K? And they're trying to give you $250 or $275.
Or what if you recently did a home equity loan? I had that question come up recently, and
I don't think the OTA cares. They're trying to get out for the cheapest and the fastest they can. And you know, it's interesting. I had a journalism student reach out to me the other day to do an interview, and he came to my office and we're talking about this, and his eyes were like the saucers. And I go, you really want to do this for your capstone? You're going to jump down several rabbit holes. And he was like, he was like kind of speechless. And I said, well, yeah, have you talked to the OTA about this? And he goes, well, I'm having trouble. They don't want to talk to me, but I did talk to one guy in charge of right away. And Kelly knows who this person is, Colin O'Leary. And he asked them about who is the son of Sean O'Leary, who used to be the city of Norman manager, the city manager, who went to work for Poe after he golden parachuted out of the city of Norman. But anyway, he goes, well, Colin O'Leary told me, just gave me one line and then said, call him back. He said, well, I think he's going to be, this kid wants to be a lawyer. And so he's really interested in eminent domain. And he asked him, well, how does eminent domain work? And Colin goes, allegedly says, we try to get out as fast and as cheap as we can. So, but they say eminent domain is the most serious thing we do. But why are they paying 10 times more to lay a road to their highway contractors and trying to short all of the citizens that they're buying the property from, or they're stealing the property from. You see what I mean? It doesn't make any sense.
And you can go to their meetings and watch their change orders where they get, the contractors can come back and say, well, we need this much more, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, okay, sign off on that. But they'll take a family to court over like $6,000.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And not only that, but like the change orders, they
I'm
had
doing it again. I'm sorry. I just looked at myself and I was like, I wonder how many flies got in there. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so in September of 2025, they had at their board meeting, they passed a resolution of necessity for a couple of properties. And in the same meeting, they approved a change order for one of them was like $74,000 and another one was several $100,000. And they were early completion bonuses.
No.
So they literally got nothing. And they're approving thousands of dollars for literally nothing. I mean, there's no physical anything happening with that. Like there was nothing tangible. There's nothing to that. But the contractors had worked in an early completion bonus. Mm-hmm. And so they were getting paid for that. But the landowner is getting condemned because they're probably asking for $20,000. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we don't know. I don't know that for sure. But it's like, why do landowners have to bicker? That construction company or the contractor, they didn't have to hire an attorney to go and negotiate with the OTA to get that early signing bonus. They just told them they wanted it and they said, okay, but the landowner, they have to go hire an attorney and pay out of pocket and potentially don't even have a house to live in while they're fighting it. Mm-hmm. It's so gross.
I wanted to put
over
up
pennies.
I wanted to put up this. See, it only makes sense if you literally view them as a gang of criminals. We could decry and complain while they continue to predate, be a predator. But this is what they'll do. So I want to talk about this because this, I think, is the biggest sticking point, not just for you guys, but for all of us as Oklahomans. And that is, I've started calling our justice system. I've started putting an IN in front of the justice system because we do not have justice in Oklahoma. I would say maybe 45, maybe half the courts already are just ruined. They don't follow the Constitution. It's all, so-and-so told me, so I'm going to do it because so-and-so told me. It's all the biggest complete pile of crap ever. And you guys have come up against that, and you have a dadgum good attorney. What do you see? How do we solve this? I mean, you guys are way more, stuck down into this than so many of us are. But you look at, I don't know if you guys saw what happened to my friend Dana Mooney, where they came in and took her son and just took him to OU and put him on chemotherapy against his wishes. So how is this happening? Why is there not a court system that's going to stand up and say, hey, this mom's taking, well, I don't maybe agree with her treatment, but she's definitely treating him. I mean, how do we solve this problem of an injustice system?
I mean, that's a tough one because I think the two-tier justice system, I mean, if I'm not trying to be off the rails here, but that's why people are so upset about the Epstein thing. And we're looking at it from a micro level here in Oklahoma, but it's like Stan Ward said, it's just us. There is no justice. And I agree with you. And I don't know, aside from just total rebellion and, things getting pretty ugly, watering the tree of liberty with the blood of tyrants, I don't know how it gets better.
Okay, Thomas Jefferson.
I think that people have to understand how the judges get put in. And every time a judge is put up for retention, I vote no. So, when the Supreme Court justices came up, and this is so frustrating to me because we thought we won, right? We thought we thought we had a 5-4, and apparently we did. Apparently, according to the people that worked for the Supreme Court, the staff members, we in March of 2023, we were winning. We won 5-4. We had the majority.
And this
then
is all rumors. So
this is all rumor. Yeah. Then all of a sudden, 2 people flipped their vote. And it went 6-3. And allegedly there was phone calls being made. There was meetings being had by the upper echelon of Oklahoma politics. There was a significant amount of pressure. And and Whitney pointed this out to me in the 60s, when the Supreme Court was, had all that bribery issues, the 65, those 3 justices. I don't know if people were taking money, but they were definitely being coerced. And so when the 3 justices, Cogger, Gurich, and Edmondson went up for re-election, we went out on a campaign to vote do not retain. And not because they were appointed by a liberal governor, but because they voted against the people 2 times in the Open Meetings Act and the Turnpike. And it wasn't like this was just a questionable ruling.
Right.
If you have any brain cells in your brain, you would know that the reading of the law was firmly in the citizens' corner. And the fact that the Chief Justice Winchester used Chevron to give broad agency deference, to let them literally do whatever they wanted, to build where they wanted, to build where they want, when they want, where they want, anything, that was absolutely insane. And that's what Whitney says. Like, that's why people go crazy.
Well, wait, was that after Chevron was struck down by the High Court?
It was very shortly before.
Oh, you have to be kidding me.
It was August of 2023, and they shot down Chevron in June of 2024.
Well, can Richard not go back and reapply that, under the strike down of Chevron?
I don't think you can retroactively apply the law.
Damn it.
I don't know that for sure, but
we can bring a new lawsuit with new people. And this new Southern Extension route that they have is 2 miles away from where it was originally. So it's under all these new people, and new people are affected, and they haven't had their due process. So our attorney thinks that there's a very good chance that we can launch a new lawsuit and get back to the Supreme Court and maybe give them a 3rd chance to get it right. But
I don't think I don't even think that would work until they change the composition of the court. I mean, I'm sorry. It's just like our federal Congress right now. Like, you can't have a geriatric Supreme Court and get anything done. And surprisingly, the 2 justices.
Well, now hold on. As a person who's moving toward geriatrics,
you are not anywhere close to that.
I don't think it has so much to do with age as I do the fact that people just don't. I mean, they become Supreme Court justices and don't even know what the Constitution says.
Right. Or it's the connections that got them there in the first place. But what I was going to say is, surprisingly, the 2 dissenters were appointed by King Stitt. So they had a great dissent.
They were young. They
were newer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
geriatric, I should say establishment. That's the problem. That they're all in cahoots.
I don't want to have to accuse you of ageism, Whitney. I don't want to have to do that. No, but here's the other thing, and you're right in that sense. Stitt, I think that's the only thing that comes to mind where any Stitt appointees have actually either done the right thing or acted on behalf of the people. But you're right, though, Amy. Why do people just say retain?
I don't know. They feel bad. I don't know. They don't know. But I do not retain, because I feel like the longer a judge is in, and we have district judges here that same thing, man. They made some questionable opinions on cases, not even to do with transportation, but just other things. And I'm going, can they not? Where's your critical thinking skills? They're obviously compromised. I mean, it's clear. And so the longer they're there, the more the Chamber of Commerce can get to them, the more the developers can get to them, the more everybody else can get to them. So I think, get in, do your job, and get out. Don't be a lifer. I just think the longer they're in, I don't know. It's like Whitney said about the federal congressmen and senators. they're all corrupted. I mean, you go in as a middle-class person and you come out worth $250 million.
No, really?
How does that happen? My husband tells me I should go do it. Just go do it. I'm like, no, I want to be able to sleep at night. You know?
Well, but I guess that goes back to what we were talking about earlier too. I mean, so we're lacking ethics. This society now is lacking ethics. They're lacking critical thinking skills. They don't really. It's just lazy, oh, I voted. Well, who did you vote for? I don't know. That guy that had the sign out by the polling place within 600 yards of the polling place. I mean,
I see hope in our legislature just because we do have that, small group of people that don't take money from the lobbyists and that they are critical thinkers and they're trying to make a difference. And, Tom Gann, Rick West, Jim Shaw, Gabe Woolley, there's some good ones in there. And it's almost like they need to become the popular kids because they act like a high school up there anyway. So how do we make
junior high?
Yeah, those guys need to be the popular kids, not the establishment crony guys.
No, I do want to put this comment in because this is actually hysterical. We could replace.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, Jeremy, you get the comment of the day. That's pretty good. I mean,
Hey, I have that one T-shirt that says "Let's replace the government with an app." I always get a lot of comments on that.
There's an app
That's
for
good
that.
stuff.
Well, guys, here's the bottom line. I mean, we at the Liberty Oklahoma conference coming up November 13th through the 15th, we are going to show the documentary. So if you haven't bought tickets and you're like, well, I don't know, we are going to show the documentary. We haven't decided if it's going to be Friday night or Saturday afternoon. I'm not sure, but it will get shown. Trust me.
Mm-hmm.
So if you, make that be a selling point, you really do need, and you guys don't have it up any place right now, do you? It's not like.
No,
No,
not
but
yet.
we do have another showing that's going to happen at the Rodeo Cinema on Tuesday, November 11th. So
That's right.
go up there in Oklahoma City, hopefully get a new group of people from Oklahoma to watch. It's a 160-person theater, and the tickets will be up soon. And we have a couple other events that we want people to know about. It's Friday for all the new people that find themselves affected and all the people that have been affected for the last 3.5 years. One of the greatest things about PikeOffOTA is the community and the like-mindedness, and that everybody is here to support everybody else.
Give me 1 second.
Okay. We're getting the teacher finger.
1 second. All right, there we go. How about that?
Yay. Perfect.
Yeah, we've got a nice community event at Hollywood Corners in Norman, and we're going to have food and live music, and it's going to be outdoors. Hopefully it's nice weather. So please come and just hang out. We'll do some trivia and some fun things, and we'll answer some questions from those the new people might have. And then we're going to do the Fall Festival at Main Street in Norman, and we're going to dress up and have a booth and just hand out candy. And so that should be fun for the kids and for everybody. I mean,
It's going to be so funny. Trick or treat or OTA?
yeah, there you go. And then we've got the Tuesday, November 11th, and the tickets will be up soon on our website. And then we've got your conference on the 13th to the 15th. And so we've got a lot of things going on, and we know that people feel better when they're not fearful. And so the more educated you get about this, the less fearful you become, and the more you feel like you can fight back. And so we've been doing this for 3.5 years, and we can feel the momentum growing. We might be losing some near-term battles, but we think the long-term war is becoming more and more possible to win. And we just
Stay tuned.
stay involved.
And Jenny, you asked how we fix this. I think another thing is coalition building, which is why your conference is so important, because they can ignore a few people. They can't ignore a huge crowd. And thank you for all the hard work you're putting into putting that on.
Well, you're very kind, but I will say that is probably the biggest thing, because we had the Kickapoo, I'm out in Luther, so we had the Kickapoo come through. So let me mention something about the Kickapoo. So every time, I've actually gotten on the thing twice. Ask me how many cars I've seen.
Almost
0.
none.
Well, no, I've seen 2.
Okay.
I've seen 2. Ask me how much it costs for my husband, because my husband actually takes that. Don't ask me why. I'm not going to get involved. I've already said don't. I don't know what else I can do. He drives that thing, and it costs up and back. It's like $6.50 or $7.
Mm-hmm. Well, because it had nothing to do with transportation. It was an economic development plan for Hera to be able to bust their zoning, to be able to put more high density housing up in that area. And man, they were all in it. But if you talk to those Oklahoma County commissioners, they are ticked off, because the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority said they were going to pay to repave and fix Luther Road and some of those other roads that the construction traffic ruined. And the Oklahoma County commissioners, and Kelly can talk more about this, but they said, well, we signed a resolution of cooperation with you. You said you were going to do it. And the OTA was like, that's not a legal document. Sorry. We got what we wanted. You're not going to give you anything. So
Too bad, so sad.
yeah.
What were you going to say, Kelly?
Oh, she said it basically. But so during construction of the Kickapoo, they damaged, I don't know, like $4 million worth of damage to the existing roads that wouldn't obviously have been damaged if they weren't constructing the Kickapoo. And for some reason or another, the OTA only paid 1.4 of that 4 million. And I'll tell you why they did it. Because they said that the county's roads were depreciated in value. And so they weren't going to, that's not replacement or repair costs. But so that is exactly what they do to landowners. So everyone out there who has bought the notion that the Turnpike Authority pays you so much money, I'm here to tell you they don't. They look at your house and they go, oh, it's depreciated in value. We don't have to pay for that. We're going to give you this dollar amount, and we don't care that you have just put a storm shelter in. We don't care that you have a fence that now if you go buy a new house, you have to put in the fence because it doesn't have one. You should just go find a house that already has all the things that your current house has. But if you look at the houses that are being impacted, most of them would fall under what is considered to be a unique property, and meaning that there aren't a lot of other comparable properties anywhere in the area that are like that. And so you're not going to be able to just move straight from one place to the other and find all the things. Everybody has seen House Hunters, right? Raise your hand if you haven't seen House Hunters. Everybody seen House Hunters? Yeah, if you've seen it, yeah, okay, raise your hand.
Oh, okay.
They have 3 options.
You confused me. Had I seen it or not?
I'm sorry. They've had three options every single episode. I've probably watched, 100 episodes. Every episode they have 3 options, right? And then they have the little check marks. Did it check this box? Did it check that box? There's not one episode where somebody found a house that checked every box. Not one. And so I think that just kind of proves my point that it's unrealistic to expect these landowners to be able to pick up and move somewhere else and have everything exactly the way it was before.
Well, but that's secondary to the fact that it's just not their property and they can't have it. So
agreed with that for sure.
Yeah. So I've said this before, and it's always kind of been a joke, haha, whatever. But I'm not kidding. I'm to the point. Really, honestly, I'm to the point of, why can't we just chain ourselves to the equipment? Nothing's happening. How? At what point do you become You just have to sabotage it because nobody's doing the right thing. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean,
No, so
Yeah.
we educate. That's what we're doing. We're educating the community. We're educating the state. We're educating the citizens. We're educating the legislators. And it's a long process, but that's where it has to start. It has to start there.
Well, Jenny, we can let the ladies educate, and you and I can figure out a sabotage plan on the side. How about that?
yeah, I mean, honestly, I feel like I'm
We need
becoming
multiple vectors of attack, and I don't have a problem with the physical vector.
I think we'll explore all of our legal tactics and legislative
nice disclaimer,
tactics before
Whitney.
we get
That's
there.
a nice disclaimer.
well,
Yeah.
you know, I was going to do that with Q manure. I was going to go out and chain myself to one of those damn stinky trucks. I mean, I just don't. At some point in time, and I was reading Substack author the other day who was talking about at some point in time, people are just going to have enough. I mean, the education isn't working. I'm playing your game and the game isn't working because you won't play by the rules.
Yeah.
Right.
Guys, I got to jump off here. My husband's going to
Okay.
leave me.
Don't.
Not for good, just for the day.
Oh, okay. All right. We'll see
I
you later,
appreciate
Whitney.
you
Thank
guys.
you. All right.
Bye, Whitney.
Bye, guys.
Take care.
Bye.
Yeah. The,
So,
latest, the,
you know,
the latest thing that you're just talking about of you can't believe it happened was, what the legislative oversight of fiscal transparency or something, Loft.
yes, right. Yes.
Yeah, well, Loft just came out with their report on the OTA and presented it yesterday. And if you look at it, it's terrible. It's like they say nothing. They say, oh, it's fine. And they put some nuggets in there that, are okay, but it's totally whitewashed nonsense. And you read it and you're like, what are these people thinking? Now, think about this. They had staff members leave when we first gave the information and everything. They had staff members that were trying to do the right thing. They got asked to leave. And then the leadership of Loft or whatever, the legislators who were in charge of it changed. So they had all the
Friendlies.
friendlies as the people like the Wallaces, but he got put out by Shaw, then, Haste, and there was a bunch of other people, Kennedy and all these other people on it. And you're going, what is happening? They have such an insider track. So you're right. I'm so frustrated with the judicial system. I'm so frustrated with the legislature. Like, is it even worth us going up into the legislature to try to run bills? Because we're going to get stuck on these committee chairs all the time. So maybe we should focus our efforts on getting really good people elected. I don't know. We're at this point where we're seeing that, you've got some great people, but there's only 7 or 8 really fantastic people. And that's not enough to get it done right now. So we only have a limited amount of volunteer time and money. And where can we make the most impact? Because we don't want to wait 20 years to have this keep going. We want someone to do something now. It's been 3.5 years. And the most frustrating thing is the transportation committee chairs are like, well, we want to wait for the audit to come out. We want to wait for the Loft report. I was like, but you obviously know something's wrong now. Why are we deferring to the OTA on all this language? Why can't we do
just the fact that we had Loft looking into it
Yeah.
and the Attorney General requesting the audit should be enough for them to put pause and say, you know what? No, we're not going to support this until we have answers. Instead, they let status quo go while they're waiting on answers. Who does that?
Let's review Loft, shall we? So the first is legislative oversight. So tell me when the government is going to correct the government ever.
Oh, never.
True.
Never
Well,
gonna
and something
happen. I mean,
else.
when you have free money to run whatever you want because you're just stealing the money from somebody. I mean, really, are you gonna? Because we just talked about ethics. Where are the ethics anymore? I mean,
Yeah, we talk about how money doesn't grow on trees, but for the OTA, it actually does.
It does.
It
does.
literally appears out of thin air. They make up baloney reports and stories, and they say, yeah, we can fund this. Think about this. Yesterday, one of the things that was just mind-boggling to me with the Loft report was that Right now, the OTA is 3.2 billion in debt. They have like 3.2 billion out in bonds. And then Access came along. Access itself is 8.7 billion additional bonds. That's like triple what we've already got, right? And somehow everybody just goes, yeah, that seems like a good idea. And I want you to think about this too. Not only that, but the loft report also shows that there are 5 turnpikes that generate 80% of the revenue that is used to sustain the entire system. So at what point, if Access is going to triple the bond debt they've already got, imagine the burden that is going to put on those 5 turnpikes. At what point will the people say, no, that toll is too high, I won't pay that? And so if people stop using those 5 turnpikes, 80% of their revenue that they generate, where's that going to come from?
Mhm.
Which are the 5? Do you have a list of them? I'm curious.
So
It was like,
the top
Go
3,
ahead.
I have it right here. The top 3 are the Turner Turnpike, which is 24% of the total. The Will Rogers Turnpike is 22%. The John Kilpatrick is 15%. The Creek Turnpike is 9.5%, and the H.E. Bailey is 9%. And everything else is under 5%.
Honestly, let's just say you were going to run this thing as a business, how does that business model make sense? Who would loan you money to have a business where what you're making and spending all this money and is only paying 9% of its weight?
Exactly. And that's why the legislature in 1955 really screwed the Oklahoma citizens by making it one bond, one payoff to many bonds, cross pledging. You don't have to pay off your bond. You keep refinancing. They really screwed that up because the people voted one bond, one road. And then on that state question in 54, and then in 55, the legislature said, we don't care what the people said. We're going to change just 2 words and make it be so they can cross pledge. And that's what really started this big monster. If we could revert it, just do that one thing, revert it back to one road, one bond, they would have to justify. They couldn't build the Chickasaw. They couldn't build the Southwest John Kilpatrick Turnpike. They couldn't build the Kickapoo. They couldn't build the Gilcrease. They couldn't build the Cherokee. And they couldn't build the Cimarron. They couldn't build the Indian Nation because they can't support themselves. And we would be so much better off as Oklahoma citizens if they would just remove that one cross-pledging clause.
I want to put this up because it just is an example of what you were talking about, and I saw it back there. You all follow the Creek Extension in Tulsa, put in around 2001, cuts through Broken Arrow to meet up with the Will Rogers, mostly empty road, but it's now getting a bridge rehab to fix the roller coaster. I've taken that before, and it is, I mean, literally, I mean, it's the worst road. There are 5 cars ever on it. I mean, I guess I don't understand how people can't. We should just call it a hustle and not a business.
It is. You know what's
exactly what it is.
You know what's crazy about that creek? The same bridge contractor that built it wrong the first time is doing the rehab on it the second time. Right now, the same people they hired 20 years ago are doing it again. Because
so how many of the people who are in OTA have family members who work for that contractor?
I don't know a lot, but
I would say Venn diagrams are important, right?
That's the whole model though. Like my whole career, I have tried to come up with methods of how to make pavements last longer, of how to understand soil stabilization better. I work for the Oklahoma Department of Transportation with research. I came up with really novel ways for construction inspectors to see if the contractors were doing the right thing. Have they adopted it? No, because they don't care, because they want their pavement to be repaved every 3 to 5 years, because that's how their people make money. They don't want my solution. I thought, I was doing the right thing and doing all this research and getting a 30-year pavement so we could save taxpayer dollars and we could make the roads safer. But that's not what is happening, because every 3 years they're ripping up the pavement and doing it again because it wasn't built correctly in the first place. But it's the same people over and over. That's, like Whitney says, the jobs program. And so it's super frustrating as a fiscal conservative. And most civil engineers are fiscally conservative because we're supposed to work for the government, and we're supposed to save the taxpayer dollars, and we're supposed to make safety our priority. This whole thing has been so eye-opening that it's complete opposite. It's wasteful, inefficient, do it 3 times to get it not even right. And so
those are just a few examples of their bad business practices. But
Yeah.
So let's go back to the creek for just a second.
Yeah.
That company that they hired initially, when they hired them, the owner of that company had just been convicted of colluding, bid rigging with working with the city of Tulsa officials, like their I think it was their public works director or their chief engineer or something, to rig bids for their company. Okay. And so literally just before that, ODOT had banned this company from bidding on projects for ODOT. And so it's in the papers that the news media asked the OTA, why would you approve a contract for these guys to build the Creek Turnpike when they are not even approved by ODOT and were just banned by ODOT from bidding because of these, this illegal activity? And they said, well, that only applies to ODOT. It doesn't apply to us. And then now fast forward to where we are here, and shocker, the bridge wasn't built properly. And so now they're redoing it. And so there was no disincentive for them to not be on the up and up and use ethical practices or, responsible road building even back then or now.
So let me ask you a question. This is a question for everybody. So if somebody just hands you some money, let's just say they walk up to you at your lucky day and they just hand you, let's just be small, they hand you $150. I mean, are you more than likely going to go, oh, I'm going to hoard that? Or are you more than likely go, hey, I just got this. I may take some people to lunch or get a pair of new shoes. I mean, most people, I think, are going to go, hey, this was just free money. I just got this. I'm going to go take some people to lunch or get some free shoes. Open a bar tab for the bar. I don't know, whatever. Once we, the people, started allowing, and it was allowing, trust me. I mean, it's just that how hard are you willing to push back, right? But once we allowed them to start getting into our pockets and taking out our wallets and just rifling through them and taking whatever they want, accountability went right into the toilet. Because they don't, I mean, guess what? If I don't pay my taxes, I go to jail. So they literally get stolen money from me, which is free, that they don't feel like they have any accountability for. They've never earned it. There's no, attachment to it.
That's right.
So when you look at, and I'm going to use this as an example, I think here, because it does kind of dovetail in with what we're talking about. So, once Dana's son was taken away from her and put into OU hospital, he was immediately put on Sooner Care. Dana had never wanted Preston to be on Sooner Care. They put him on Sooner Care. So think about that a second. Then my friend Roberta Lewis, whose son was kidnapped from her by the school in Pottawatomie County where he was going to school, because they thought he had a mental problem because he posted a picture about he and his dad going hunting. Right. So he was obviously suicidal. So they steal him, put him in a facility where they get money for treating from Sooner Care and other Oklahoma taxpayer dollar funded programs. They get money for treating this child for 10 days. What do you suppose happened at the end of 10 days?
Put him back on to get more money.
No, they actually just put, because he wasn't.
Money ran out.
Oh.
Yeah, time ran out. Roberta was breathing down their necks. They just took him, sat him on the sidewalk, and called up Roberta. Hey, come pick up your kid.
Yeah.
This is all about money. And until our representatives say, you know what, you don't get money for this program. You don't get money for this program. We're going to make you do blah, and then actually make them do this. There's no accountability there. There's no incentive for them to be accountable. There's only incentive for them to do what they want.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope we get accountability soon because it's super out of control, and people are going to be chaining themselves to their houses. We have a lot of older people that are just distraught and they don't know what to do, and so it needs to happen, and it needs to happen soon. I really hope Cindy Bird does a great job with this audit.
She will,
and I really hope that she comes out with pointed bullet points that the attorney general can then take to make significant I hope for indictment.
Who the
attorney general, hopefully.
Name one audit that Cindy has done that he's acted on so far, and there have been two big ones.
No, zero. I know, but I have to.
But he did sign up on a lawsuit to do something federally that was, I don't even remember what it was, because he sends out, press releases every 20 minutes about something he does, never to help the Oklahoma people, actually. But I mean, that's the other problem too. We've got an AG who literally will not enforce actual law that would help we the people.
I know. I wish Stan Ward was still alive.
Me too.
Because Stan Ward and him had a relationship, and I believe that was one of the main reasons why he called for the investigative audit. Because Stan was this kind of informal mentor or something like that. And Stan was like, you need to do the right thing. And so he did. But then he is statutorily, he is supposed to control the bond funding. So he has the power as the attorney general for the OTA to say, no, you can't go to the bond market. No, you have to prove this. No, and he didn't on that 500 million. And so once he didn't step in on that, I became a little bit of skeptical, but I'm just hoping at least that the auditor's report is not like the Loft report. And I hope the auditor's report has detail, that even if he doesn't make a move, that whoever the next person is, could maybe be coerced into doing that. Because other than that, I mean, what are our other option is just an initiative petition to change the Constitution. Well, I mean, we're out of options. The state Supreme Court isn't going to change over because people stay until they die, pretty much. Yeah. I don't know. So that's
so at the Loft report yesterday, Joe Kelly did say that at this stage of the game, all of the routes that are authorized by the legislature that are in statute currently are either completed or in the process of being completed, or they have no intention of ever building. He said that. So this is why education is so important, and we've got to stay on our legislators, because that means there is a chance that we can get those other ones that are already on the books, we can get those sunset. Those need to be gone. They need to take them off. And we also need to keep our citizens educated and tuned in so that we can be watching for new authorizations. So like our work is nowhere near done, and we're going to have to stay on them as long as the Turnpike Authority is in business and has to pay off bonds, which, Amy, correct me if I'm wrong here, did I see something that said they won't be able to pay all this off for another 203 years?
Something like that. Yeah. It's so fiscally responsible. I mean, come on.
Jenny, can I throw something on the screen just to get your reaction?
Why are you saying can you? Are you gonna try to kill me? My blood pressure is really high.
No, I just want to throw this up here. I want to get your reaction here. I want to get your reaction to this quote. Look at this scene here. Look how staged this scene. There's not even coffee in these cups. Look at this. There's not even coffee in here in these cups. There's no one back here working. I mean, come on.
Why can't we take we need to take Mick's video and stick that in there where he says, I know you don't have to vote for me and I don't care if you vote for me. That's what we should put in there.
Yeah. I mean,
That's
just
what
the
we should put
hypocrisy. I mean, I hate it. I mean, I love what you say all the time, Kelly. We need to educate because people just have no idea, literally no idea whatsoever about any of this stuff. And, you know, I don't, how do we do it? I mean, do we just use, I think we need to use more shame, more satire, more, you know, making fun of these people in one way or another. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just wrong. I don't know.
We need to stop giving people a reason to look the other way. And that's kind of what I think we're hoping
Okay, so wait,
the documentary does.
Say that again.
We need to stop giving people a reason to look the other way. And so I feel like the OTA has their message out there, oh, we're going to take care of the people. And so when people hear that on TV, they go, oh, they're going to take care of them. That's the easy out. I don't have to worry about those people. I don't have to spend time on figuring this stuff out because they're going to take care of them. Even though I promise you, they know deep down in their core that that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just easier to say, oh, well, they said they're going to take care of them, so I'm just not going to go there. But we need to instill in people that when the government says they're going to take care of someone, come on now. That's when your ears need to perk up. That's when you need to get involved. That is the complete opposite of what is going to happen. I'm from the government and I'm here to help you.
The mob term, take care of. We're going to fit you, we the people, with some cement shoes. And
maybe that's what PikeOff's slogan needs to be is when you hear these words, we're going to take care of you. You need to wake up and say, no, something's going on here. That equals red flag. You hear them, we're going to take care of you. Red flag, red flag, red flag.
I did want to go back to this one really fast because Rhonda said, bingo, Jenny. I was just getting ready to say that all the crimes committed that Cindy Bird and her team have exposed, and yet those people are still walking around. They're never forced to return the funds that were misused. My goodness, let's not even talk about Epic. Let's not talk about Tulsa Public Schools. Let's not talk about any of these audits that she's done, but she doesn't have subpoena power. She can't go out and she doesn't have police power. That's the AG's office.
It's no wonder she's running for lieutenant governor. Maybe she'll have a little bit more influence on getting those things prosecuted from now on. Maybe.
I don't know. One would hope. You know what I'm saying here? One would hope.
But Michael, on the education point, that's one of the reasons why I started the Substack was because it became too much for Facebook. There was so much detail, and we have so many great researchers like Kelly and Cheryl and another Cheryl, and they're finding all these things in the archives that the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority just wants to bury. So we're putting it out there, but Substack is a very like a niche kind of place where only certain people are reading it because it's kind of too long. So what we need to do, I think, is find someone fantastic at social media and take some of the memes like to make fun, like satire, and make fun of the OTA more and put those up on TikTok or Instagram or wherever they go to get more traction with all of the information. But what the Substack is really important for, and hopefully we have some information for you on this in the next couple months, is I've been working with a lot of the researchers taking really complicated archival material that they found on the bonds, on the financing, on the contract law, on everything, and writing them out and giving them to lawyers to say, hey, I think we have a case right here, here, and here. What do you think? And it's been really effective in saying, they're like, oh yeah, I'll take that. And oh yeah, I'll take that one. And so I think the communication, well, Jenny, back to your point, what are we going to do? We still have several legal options that we're going after that have been buried for decades because people haven't taken the time to read the Supreme Court cases from the 60s, where they completely were pontificating on policy rather than actually adjudicating the law. And then the contract laws, the systems of turnpike. So 1966 and 1989, where they have these turnpike systems. Well, they didn't even listen to their own Supreme Court cases what they were supposed to do, and they just made up their own law. So, there's lots of different things, but there's statute of limitations. And I think, again, like Kelly said, educate. We're just trying to educate everybody and go back through and try to figure out how to bring back this rogue agency into following the law. And I don't know if you've ever read anything that Robert Moses did he's the king of the New York Turnpike Authority, and he was 50 years. He was the one who came up with the evil genius. He's evil genius behind the authority, how authority gets around all the laws and is the king of the land. And the OTA pretty much modeled their contracts around what he did in New York, but they made some mistakes that we found. And so we're hoping that we can put some chinks in their armor, and that some lawyers who will step up pro bono almost, because it's very expensive. We're going to make some headway into a lot of things and get to the point where they can't afford to stay open. But we hope that for all the new people listening, that you don't settle with the OTA, that you take them all the way to court, and then you join PikeOffOTA so we can help you keep that stand and be strong with your negotiations.
And also along the lines of educating, it's so important that we keep doing it. And I know that it's working, because at those last town halls where they were handing this stuff out to the landowners, that, all this good information to help them, stay out of the way, they would not allow video or photo, even for the media. So that tells you they do not like the documentation, because when there's documentation, then it can be proven later on that they're either giving out misinformation or whatever. So it's very important that we continue to educate. It's very important that we continue to document. And I would actually like to take this opportunity, if you don't mind, to ask anybody who has worked with the Turnpike Authority in the past, not employees, well, maybe that would be good too, but if you are a landowner who has ever had to deal with the Turnpike Authority, please reach out to us. PikeOffOTA.com, find our email on there. We have a phone number. Reach out to us. You can ask to speak to me specifically, or Amy or Whitney, any of us. But I would love to take your account of what happened. I would imagine there are a lot of tips and tricks that you can tell us, say, oh, well, they told me this and then this happened. And the more stories we can collect, the better we can serve the new people that are going through this and help them fight the fight. But without those stories, we are just as lost as you guys were when you went through it. And so if you're listening and you've been through this before, please reach out to one of us and let us understand your story and how you think things could have been better. So anyway.
Well, and let's run through the couple of things that you've got up on your website. Don't forget, put Friday, October 17th at Hollywood Corners. Where is Hollywood Corners?
Porter and Franklin Road in Norman.
Okay, so it is in Norman. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Fall Festival in downtown Norman, which is the October 24th.
Mm-hmm.
And then really my God, you guys have got to go see this, please. I'm begging you, buy tickets. November 11th, the Turnpike access denied screening at Rodeo Theater. Rodeo's down in
The stockyards.
Yeah. So, and don't forget, come see the video at the Liberty Oklahoma conference as well. Ladies, you are
shining light, an example to us all, an example of what people can do. And I want to say one thing, Amy, because you said something that I just never thought of in this capacity when you were talking about your designs that you have that can solve so many of these problems, long term. And that just, it's another example of how we, the people, can actually solve the conditions in our own environment. We don't need the government. And, like how you said, they don't want to do that. They want to just scrape it off every 3 years, redo it, and it just hit me. That's like the same, it's a different play out of the same playbook, just like how we treat, medicine in this country or cancer. You have a cure, that can work for the roads and transportation, whatever, but yet they don't want to do that. They want to keep having these treatments just like we do in medicine. I mean, it's no different, but I mean, what an example of what people can do when you look at like Amy and Kelly and just the whole project of what you guys do. I mean, I can't thank you enough, but to me, it's just an example of what we the people can do. You guys are the perfect example of how we can do it. We can go against these agencies and the government, and we can solve the problems, you know, and hopefully, the only bad thing about us is, you know, we don't have the funds, and the time is a lot longer for us than it is, you know, when you have a lot of money and you're a big corporation. But hopefully we can continue to, you know, help in any way. And I mean, you guys are awesome.
Thank you. And our nonprofit, we're official nonprofit 501c3 and 501c4. So if people want to donate to us, it is completely tax-free. The 501c3 and then our 501c4 is in the legislature trying to affect change in that way. So we are official. If people want to donate, they can donate, send it to our PO box or go online and send up a monthly donation. We have, our CPA says we're one of the most prolific nonprofits in terms of the amount of funding we get, in terms of the amount of the small number of funds we get. So we get a lot of people that donate $5 a month, $10 a month, $20 a month. So we probably have 400 people that fund us a year, which is way more than a lot of people. We just don't have the huge dollar amounts. You know, some people get funded millions of dollars, but we're grassroots and people are funding us. We're all volunteers. We don't get paid. All the money goes back into the community to help and to stop these turnpikes.
Yeah. It just kind of goes to show that the type of people, like you were talking about earlier, that they're impoverished. I mean, we're trying to help people that are already in a situation where they don't have a lot of funds. And so anyway, it's really sad.
Well, and it does go to show you, I mean, there are a lot of people who don't, I mean, even after COVID, they still haven't wakened to the idea of conspiracy, that conspiracy is just wait 15 minutes. And I think if you look at what they're doing and what OTA is doing, I think a lot of it is just the money issue. I mean, these people just want money and they're lazy and they don't want their kids to have to go find a job in the real world. It's just easier to put them in jobs, you know, satellite jobs that are, you know, being paid by taxpayer funds.
Federal government, Jenny.
Yeah, I mean, well, but it is the way it is. I mean, and all you have to do is look at the state administration to determine if you're a friend, then you're in the in crowd. If you're not a friend, then you're an employee, right? So I think that one of the things that this particular issue with OTA shows is how the government can railroad people and just widen the divide between rich and poor. And that's what they want to do, right? I mean, the middle class is not, they don't want that, because we're individuals who actually think and can work for ourselves. That the elites want their money and they love their money, and they're more than likely going to do whatever they need to do to keep their money. So they're very easily led. It's us middle people who actually are the ones that are doing the yeoman's work, trying to save the poor people, you know, and they've got to get rid of us. And this is sure a good way to do it. Take our property, pitch us out, give us crap for it, and tell us it's not their problem.
Yeah, the best way for a government to get rid of a community is to build a roadway through it. And that's over time what they did in Tulsa, what they did in New York City. And so that's what they're doing.
Well, ladies, I just think you are the best. I really do. I mean, I just don't believe. I will say this, because I've been around a long time and I can actually say this from personal observation. I have not seen an organization spring up that has been as effective. Well, I'm going to say this, as effective and as educational as PikeOffOTA has been. I mean, you guys are magic. I mean, you have so many people working together that are just brilliant minds, and you've done such excellent work. And I just applaud you. It just, and you, it should give, we've got a nice audience on here today. It should give you guys a really great feeling to know that there are other people out there who want this stuff to stop. And if you want it to stop, get involved. Get involved with PikeOff. Come to the Liberty, Oklahoma convention. Get involved with any of the other groups. I mean, we're going to have a lot of the groups that are going to come on Thursday night to open the conference so that people can actually start getting together, because it's like we talked about. Nobody wants us to get together. Nobody wants that. They want us to be these little individual groups that are just taking pot shots at each other. Nobody wants us to be a big group, because then we're formidable, as they say in French. So we've got to get together. And Thursday night at the conference on the 13th, that's going to be the big way. If you really want to get involved with groups, come that night for sure. All right, ladies, thank you so much for being with us. Next week, on Wednesday, we have our friend Mick Rosado, and she's going to talk about her, the oh, I never say this right. It's the petition to try to get COVID, well, to get some laws, to help the people who were hurt by COVID and COVID policies in Oklahoma. I'm not saying it well, Nick. I'm so sorry. I suck. But she's going to be with us on Wednesday, and she will tell you all about that. So please be with us, because she might even play our favorite clip from our favorite HE.
There you go.
I always love that. Ladies, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you again on Wednesday. Have a wonderful weekend, blessed weekend. We'll see you again Wednesday. Thanks.